In this video, I'm going to go over exactly how you can create a perfect project management system for your agency. This is the exact same thing with Sam, Eric, and Jamie, who now all have fully custom project management systems based on the specific needs of their agencies. I'll be taking you through the entire process from start to finish so you can just copy and paste this into your agency and have a project management tool that actually works. Now, we have a lot to cover in this video, but let's get started from the very beginning. Stage one. All I want to do here is basically get an understanding of what you're currently doing. This is the exact same thing I do for every single one of my clients when they first come in. Obviously, from an outside perspective, I don't know much about them, so I need to get to know or get an understanding at least of what they're currently doing. But also, it allows them to get an idea of different things they like and don't like, so you can then put together when creating this custom project management system, which I'll get more into in a second. To do this is going to be very simple. We're going to get a Google Doc and we're going to start answering questions. One by one, we're going to go through them together now. The first question I like to ask everyone is, what are you using? So what are you currently using? Now, this is important, right? Because some people are using different softwares for different things. For example, I used to work at the agency, I think it was back at the start of 2024, and they was using one software project management for their clients, one software for project management in terms of their own product and kind of improving their services, another software to kind of manage the ISAs and different things like that. And it was very messy. However, if we didn't ask this question, we wouldn't be able to know about the other two softwares. So you want to get a clear understanding of every single software that you're using related to project management, which basically means just any sort of work that happens in your agency. Where are you actually assigning tasks to different people? Where are you setting tasks for different people? Where are you communicating? This is going to be very important, which is why it's one of the first questions that we actually ask. What are you currently using? Once we know what you're currently using, we can move on to the second question, which is basically asking how you're actually using it. So we basically want to figure out how you're using a specific software. Now, this kind of ties into what we talked about a second ago. We want to find out exactly how you're using a specific piece of software in your agency. So, for example, if you're using your ClickUp for project management, what do you actually mean by project management? What are you actually doing on the platform? You want to clearly list exactly how you're using a platform, because once again, when we move over to creating a custom project management system, it's important to know different things that you're currently using so we can either replace them, make them better, or completely get rid of them. The third thing I want to talk about is who's actually using this platform. Now, in all honesty, I probably should have asked this one as number 2 and this one as number 3. However, we'll keep on going. We want to ask who's actually using the platform. So is it your customer success managers? Is it your media buyers? Is it your admin team? Who's actually using the platform? Once you know who's actually using the platform, we can also talk about how they're actually using it and go into specific roles. So for example, if I was doing this myself, I can be like CSMs, admin, and then I'll put media buyers as MD. And I can put CSMs are using it for tasks, admins are using it for overview, and then media buyers are using it for projects. Whatever. Just an example, right? You don't have to stick to this religiously, but at least I have an idea of who's specifically using my platform and how they're actually using it. You'll see this is going to become very valuable when we move on to stage 2 of actually planning out our user roles. So make sure you spend some time on this step. Once we have an understanding of what we're actually using, how we are using it, and who's actually using it, we can move on to the fourth step, which is figuring out what we like about it. Now, this is very important because if we are creating a project management system from scratch, we need to make sure we get an understanding of what you currently like of your platform. Because the things that you currently like, we're trying to integrate. And obviously, the next question you can probably assume is things you don't like, so we can integrate that as well. So make a list of some of the features that you like about it. Literally can be anything. For example, if it's easy to use, write that down. If it's easy to train people on, write that down. If you like the look of it, even write that down. And then obviously do the exact same thing for things you don't like about it. So what things kind of annoy you a bit? Is it the data permissions? Is it not being able to share it with other people? Is it not having client portals? What don't you like about it? And once you've done all of that, there comes the most fun step, which is figuring out in an ideal world what you would have. And the way I like to frame this last question to people is think of it as if you have your own development team who's working full time on payroll, already taken care of. And you have to tell them, okay, go make this for me. In an ideal world, if there was budget wasn't a constraint, timeline wasn't a constraint, there was no constraints, what were some of the features that you'd have within your kind of portal? Would it be client portals? Would it be different user roles? I mean, write down exactly what you'd have in a dream scenario. And then after, we're going to be basically using that as a North Star in terms of what we want to include or we don't want to include in order to achieve that goal. Now, in all likelihood, I'll be completely honest, you probably won't have a majority of the features that you kind of listed out, but at least you can kind of incorporate some of the different aspects and you have some sort of goal that you can work yourself towards. But guys, once you've gone ahead and actually answered those questions, all you want to do is put it somewhere in a Google document. It'd probably be easier to do it straight in a Google document. I've got this example right here where I'm basically just breaking down what you're using, who's using it, how they're using it, what do you like about it, what don't you like about it, and in an ideal world, what would you have? Break that down step by step, and then you'll be in a much better place. You can move on to stage two. Now, stage one is pretty easy. Now we want to move on to stage two. For this stage, we're going to be using Figma. Now, I say Figma, you can use whatever whiteboard tool you want. I don't really care, to be honest. The thing you're seeing me use right now, this kind of online whiteboard, is called Figma. There's so many different ones out there. You can choose whichever one you want. But within Figma, we're going to do three key things. Firstly, we're going to set up our user roles. So just clearly defining who's going to be using an application and how they're going to be using it. Then we're going to set up a database, which is one of the most important things we're going to be doing, because the way most of these tools work when we're setting up these different platforms is they're all based on databases, and all we're doing is kind of restructuring the data. Now, if that sounds complicated, I don't want you to stress yourself out. This is not complicated. It's no code, and any beginner tool can use it. And I'm going to take you exactly through how you can do this by yourself, step by step. But a very, very important part of this will be the databases, which is why we're going to spend a whole section on it. And then we're going to build out the frameworks. This is just kind of like a mind map of how we intend our platform to be used and how different people are going to be interacting to it. The way you can think about it is basically building different menu pages. Very exciting stuff for this stage. We might as well get straight into it. The first thing we want to do is set up our user roles. Now, once again, all we're doing here is kind of reflecting on who exactly is going to be using the application and how they're actually going to be using it. I usually like to create these different mind maps, and once again, this is nothing complicated, guys. I mean, this is fairly simple, to be honest. And all we're doing here is trying to identify the key users who are actually going to be using our application. I like to split them into two different groups. We have internal users and external users. Internal users are basically people of your team. External users are people outside of your team, like clients, different companies they have partnerships with, and different things like that. In most cases, it will just be clients, if even. In terms of internal roles, what usually the most common thing for agency owners is admins. So obviously, it's people like yourself who are kind of overseeing something. CSM, so customer success managers, and then some sort of fulfillment role, whether it's media buyers, whether it's designers, whether it's, I don't know, ISAs. And obviously, you can expand to as many as you want. These little boxes you see right here are just going into a bit deeper, breaking down the role. So, for example, admins will have access to every single piece of data and every single page. Different employees will have access to different things. And that's kind of what I'm breaking down here. But in all honesty, you don't have to go in so much detail. I just want you to focus on this section right here, where you're just breaking down who your internal users are, who your external users are, and kind of putting that together as a sort of mind map. Because when we actually move on to start building our database and you're going to be setting all these different user roles, this is going to make life a lot easier. So once you have a nice diagram like this within your whiteboard tool, you can move on to the next step, which is building a database. Now, I said this previously, but I'll say it again. The database is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the most important things in your application. The way most of these no-code tool works is just kind of restructuring different data in ways that are nice for people to actually visualize and understand, but also interactive. But if you don't get a database right, then the rest of it won't matter, because everything's kind of based off of the database in these applications. And once again, guys, don't get stressed out if that sounds super complicated, because I'll be going over everything in a couple minutes when we actually start building this out live for you guys. A database, and I'll write this down just to make it super clear. Let me know if you can read my handwriting in the comments. But now, a database is basically made up of three different things. We have a database table, we have a database record, and then we have a database field. A database table is a whole selection of records. Now, for example, if I was to create some sort of database and I say employees are one of the things I was tracking, an employee table would be a table. A record is an individual piece of data within that table. So, for example, an individual employee will be a record in my employee table. And lastly, we have a field, which is a specific piece of data that we're collecting for each record in our table. So, for example, the employee name would be one of the fields within our table for a record. I'll give you another example. Let's say you're creating a database for tasks. Your tasks database will be a table, an individual record would be an individual task, and an individual field could be something like due date, task name, task notes, different things like that. Just the individual piece of data that we're tracking for every single one of the tasks. Once again, guys, this is nothing complicated, and I'm going to give you a ton of examples, or at least give you a way that you can find different examples in a second. But I first want to explain at least what we're actually doing here, because at least for me, I always find it super helpful when I have an understanding of why I'm actually doing something. And once you actually understand what a database actually is, we need to figure out what database tables we need and what fields each of these tables actually require. Now, I'll show you some examples of some previous client work. In all honesty, yours won't get this complicated, but all I'm basically doing here is kind of writing down each of the individual records, writing down each of the individual tables, writing down each of the individual records, and also showing how they connect to each other. So, for example, we have assigned clients that links to the projects through their assigned project field. Now, this probably sounds like gibberish. I understand it is a bit complicated, but I want to make it super simple for you guys. So, if you, and you don't even have to do that, to be honest, you can just pause the video and kind of go through this, I break down exactly how you can do this. Because like I said, creating these tables are one of the most valuable things you can actually do. So it's important you actually get this right. So within here, I basically go over how to set up different database tables. In order to create a project management system, in reality, you'll need a couple of different tables. The first thing you need is a project table, which is quite obviously where you're going to be tracking each individual project. You need a task table because different projects are going to have different tasks. You need an employees table so you can assign different projects to different employees. You need a contacts table so you can assign different projects to different contacts, which are basically just clients. And in all honesty, that is pretty much it. You can add different things to that to make it a bit more complicated. But for now, I'm more than happy for you to start with those 4 simple tables. So we have project, we have tasks, we have employees, and we have contacts. Very, very simple, guys. Once again, nothing complicated. By using that, you'll be able to create your custom project management system from scratch. If you do need more inspiration, kind of go through this list where I've got different examples of different case studies. I mean, feel free to pause it and kind of go through it, or you can obviously check it out using the first link in the description. But now that you have a database tables, you need to basically figure out what fields you want to track for each individual record in your table. And once again, guys, I'm going to keep giving you guys examples. For projects, you could track different things such as the project name, the retainer, the start date, the end date, the assigned clients, the assigned employees, the project notes, the company name, the company email, the address, the project stage. For tasks, you can track different things such as the ticket name, the ticket due date, the ticket status, ticket type, the assigned employees, assigned projects, the client ticket, ticket notes, important links, created, version value, different things like that. Now, you don't need to track all these different fields, and if you want even more examples, once again, you can refer back to this where I go over 167 different examples of fields. So for projects, we have project name, start date, end date, project, project manager, and status. For tasks, we have task name, assigned to, due date, priority, status, related project. For employees, we have employee name, role, department, email, phone number, start date. And then for contact, we have contact name, company, email, phone number, status, last contact date. Once again, these are probably all you need to get started with the project management tool. You can add more to it later, but for now, I'm super, super happy if you just start with this to keep this as simple as possible. Once we have an idea of the different database tables we're actually tracking, alongside the different individual fields that we're actually bringing out, you want to create a little map. Because remember, at this point, we are still in Figma. We haven't started building anything out yet. So we can reference it after we actually start building an application in about 10 minutes. So either write it down on Figma, or you can even integrate this within your Google Doc that we created a second ago. Just make it very easy and making sure you understand what different tables you have and what different fields you're tracking for those tables. Once you have that identification of the different user roles that are going to be using your project management system, the different database you're going to be using, it's time to actually build out the frameworks. Now, the frameworks is very simple. It's basically just an overview of how exactly your platform is going to look like. And the way I like to think about it here is just basically building a navigation bar, right? So for example, when you load up a piece of software like YouTube, you have different things such as my channel, my subscribers, different things like that, just an overview of a platform that you can navigate through navigation. That's exactly what we're building out here. This is an example we did for Eric. So as you can see, we broke it down for each of the different views. You have executive, you have the homepage, all projects, all tasks, lead overview, employee overview, payments, data cleaner, user guide. The CSM view will be a bit simpler, so you can see home pages, my projects, my tasks, lead overview, and user guide. Once again, guys, I'm not doing anything overly complicated here. If anything, we're keeping it simple on purpose so you guys can have a good understanding of how to actually use these tools. But all I want to do here is just get a high-level overview of what my platform could actually look like. Now, in most cases, this is not set in stone, so you don't have to kind of overthink this either. Because in reality, as you start building the application out, you start to figure out more things you can do, and you're probably likely to change a lot of different things. However, this is the exact same thing I talk about when building automations. Before you build something out, it's so much easier if you have a clear overview of what you're actually building, rather than just starting from scratch or an image that you have in your head. So I always find it easier to build these different diagrams out to at least give me an overview of how to structure my different pages when I'm actually building this out in the next section, rather than starting from nothing and just tripping over myself every single time. And once again, apply this exact same thing to any automations you build. And if you watch the channel, you would have seen me do that. And if you want more examples, guys, this is what we did for Eric, but this is also what we did for Jamie for his project management tools. By the way, if you don't know who I am, my name is Leo. I'm a CEO and founder of Fluxomate, an operation agency who helps agency owners all over the world set up scale-proof systems. I won't help you increase your close rate. I won't help you run your ads. I won't help you get more appointments. But one thing I can help you with is improving the backend systems of your agency. So if you're an established agency owner who's looking to take on more clients without ruining their client experience and skyrocketing their churn, then book a call using the first link in the description or join our Skill-Proof Community Hub because me and my team can help you do that. Back to the video, guys. All right, so far, we've gone ahead and got an understanding of what we were doing before, what we'd have in an ideal world, and also we've broken down the beginning stages of how to actually do this. Now it's time that we get a bit more practical and start talking about how to actually build this custom project management system from scratch. Now, to do this, I'm going to be using a beautiful software called Noloco. Noloco is basically a no-code app builder which allows you to create internal tools. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but this is literally one of the most important tools that we use when delivering results to our clients and also for our own internal use. We use Noloco to create internal apps, and if you watched any previous channel before, you would have seen us using this a lot. Now, the reason I kind of use Noloco, which is a custom app builder, rather than some of these pre-built internal project management tools, is because last year, I basically went down the road of testing each one of these project management tools. So I use ClickUp, I use Airtable, I use Monday, I use HubSpot, I even use GHL, even different things like Trello. The whole aim here was just figuring out what is the best software that I can use for our clients to actually allow them to run their agencies, which includes project management. And I came to the conclusion that the only perfect solution is a solution that's custom made for you. And if you think about it, this makes sense. Let's say you had a suit, right? You had a custom suit and a suit you get off the shelf. The custom suit will always win because it's made around your specific needs, your shoulder width, your bicep size, the material you want, different finishes, everything like that is fully custom made around your specific preferences. Whereas standard suits or something you would get off the shelf, like these different softwares over here, are trying to solve a lot of different problems for a lot of different people. So chances are they're not going to fit all of your specific buckets, which makes sense. Once again, they're trying to solve a lot of different problems for a lot of different people. When you have something that's custom, fully made around your specific needs, you're much more likely to have a perfect solution. And guys, I want to make it very clear. If you are using something like ClickUp, like, I don't know, Monday.com or wherever, some of these basically off the shelf project management tools, and it's working for your team, then great. You don't have to listen to me. I'm just a random guy on YouTube with an orange hoodie. You should use whatever works for you. I'm just telling you what I found based on my experience. And 9 out of 10 cases, every single client that comes to us looking for help on their backend systems, they have limitations with their project management tools, which is why we create custom tools from scratch based on their specific needs, which solve all the issues. Once again, if you have something that's already working for you, you don't have to listen to me. Well, I'm surprised you got this far in the video anyways. Now you have an understanding of why we're actually doing this from scratch. Let's go over some of the bit more practical sides. Now, I've got a ton of videos on my channel going over, 1 hour plus, 2 hours, or long builds on how to actually do this. This is not one of those videos. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to hide anything from you guys, but I won't be going into as much detail because I want to cover the basis of how to actually do this so you actually get an understanding. And if you need more help, then you can check out those videos, which are hour-long plus tutorials of me sitting down on a chair or standing up sometimes and going over exactly how to build a custom system using something like Noloco. What I'm going to do this video though is provide a more so of a high level overview of how to actually do this. And this is going to be broken down to 7 individual stages, which will get started straight away. The first thing you want to do is create an account. Now this is fairly simple. It's probably the easiest way you're getting this whole thing. You can use the first link in the description, which is an affiliate link, or you can use any link. Honestly, I don't really care. It's only about $20 a month if you do sign up. But sign up and create an account using Noloco. Once that's done, you want to move on to the second step, which is setting up your user roles. Now, the reason I like to do this straight away is because I like to clearly define who's using the application and how they're exactly going to be using it throughout the entire build. So as soon as I'm loaded in, I like to go to Noloco, set my user roles, and then continue with the rest of the application. Now, when you first sign up, you will get options to choose different templates, which you can use if you want to, and you'll also get an option to have AI build your app. Now, once again, you can do that if you want to, but for this perspective, I want to show you how you can actually build this from scratch. So if you don't want to do that, then just skip through all of that and get to the point where we actually have a database. So just to give you guys a quick example, you obviously won't be able to see all of this because it's all blurred. But if I go ahead and create a new app, I'm going to be prompted to this thing. As you can see, you have different options of different things you can select, such as a table, I don't know, some different things like Airtable. But for now, I'm just going to go with logo tables, which I recommend you do as well. Name it wherever you want to name it. So for example, I can put YouTube example, and I go ahead and actually create it in your different workspace. Now, once again, this is the AI side of thing that I'll talk about. It's going to ask you to basically, describe your application. I always like to skip it and just start from scratch personally. Obviously, you can if you want to, but you have to create one database. I just usually create a project database and add the name and the notes and just create next. And that goes ahead and basically creates my application. Now, once again, we're going to be doing this from scratch, but if you did want to use the AI, feel free to use it. It's not that bad. I've tested it before and it works just fine. But here we basically have a new application from scratch. The first thing we want to do is head over to the users section, and we're going to go ahead and press the little three dots here to manage the different roles. Now, when you first create an app, it's already preloaded with two specific roles, the user role and team admin role. What you're going to do now is refer back to that nice little document we created at the start of this video where we break down different user roles and add the different user roles here. So for example, if I go over here, the team admin, I can leave. The user, I can change this to client, for example. And obviously, they're not a team member. I don't give them access to all data, and I don't give them permission to add different apps. Make sure you save it. And then I can add a different role. For example, I can add CSM, and they are a team member, but they can't access all data because you only want to give them access to the data that they actually are relevant. We're going to go ahead and press save role. And now we basically gone ahead and created our roles. Very, very easy, guys. Easy wins right now. Let's move to the next step of this application. At this point, we've gone ahead and created an account, set up a user roles. It's now time to set up a database. Now, this isn't necessarily difficult. It's just a bit of a repetitive process, which I'm not really going through entirely today. But very simply, you want to go over to the application. And once again, I'm going to show you guys this. And within data, all you want to do is start adding those fields that you assigned a second ago. So for example, for project, I can go ahead and add a new field. And this is where I'd add different information such as the company name, wherever it may be. And obviously you have different things to add it as a field, text, all that different things. Nothing complicated, guys. If you want some examples of me setting up a database, you can check out this video right here. That's a complete build from scratch to finish. And I'll give you an example at the start of how you can actually set up a database. It's nothing complicated, guys. Honestly, it's just more so a repetitive process, which is why I don't want to cover it today, because this video is intended to be a bit short, a bit punchy, as practical as possible, or without having to go deeply into examples which I've already covered on the YouTube channel. Now, once you've gone ahead and actually set up a database, it's time to move on to step 4, which is actually importing your data. Now, this is one of the most important steps, and it's something I like to do for every single client that I work with, and it's something that we do actually for every single client that we work with. The reason I find this so important is because when we're actually building out our application, we want to have an idea of what it actually looks like when this data pre-filled in. If you leave all your data empty, when you're building an application, everything's going to be empty and things are not going to be making much sense. So what I always like to do is for each of the tables I actually build out, I import some data. How do you actually do that? Very, very simply. All you have to do is use this prompt right here. Just like basically explaining that you need some help creating some realistic database. These are my fields for table name. And here, obviously, you include the table name. For example, if you're doing a project, this will be a project name, and include the different fields one by one. And then ask it to generate 20 records, 30 records, whatever it may be. Once you've basically done that, you're going to go back to your local platform and you're going to press this nice little import button, upload your CSV file, assign the different datas, and that's pretty much it. This is an important step, guys. I wouldn't recommend missing this out because you won't really have an idea of what your app will look like with data in, which is what it actually will look like when you start using it or your different team members start using it. So please take the time to actually import that data in. Once you actually import the data in, we move on to the 5th step, which is building the main pages. Now, I always like to differentiate it between main pages and individual pages, which we build in the next step. The main pages are different things such as the project overview, the task overview, different dashboards. And I always prefer to build these before because the way I see it, this is the first thing that users are going to see. So I try to make it as easy to understand as possible and include as much of the relevant information as possible. I'll put some screenshots up here so you can kind of view this for yourself or what these actually look like. Once again, if you do want more detail, I'm going to leave a playlist below of different project builds that I've done from scratch of me building out these main pages. This is not the video for it. I just want to give you the guidelines on how to build your custom project management system. Once you've actually gone ahead and built all your different main pages, you move on to the 6th step, which is building individual pages. Fairly repetitive process to the main pages. The key difference here is that the individual pages, in my opinion, is where a lot more of the function comes into play. So main pages are good for looking at data and having a high level overview of everything, whereas the individual pages is where your users are going to be spending most of the time. So for example, let's say they're working on a specific task. Let's say they're trying to look for information for a specific project. Let's say they're looking for information about a specific employee. Everything's going to be centered around the individual pages. These, in my opinion, take longer to do because you want to make this as easy for the user to interact with and use as possible. And this kind of comes back to that breakdown we did in our Google document at the very start of the video when we broke down exactly who's going to be using the application and how they're going to be using it. When you're building these individual pages, don't think of it from perspective of someone who's building a project management tool. Think of it from a perspective of someone who's actually going to be using that tool for that specific interest. So for example, if you're building a task page from a CSM view, what are some of the things that I need to see about that specific task? What are some of the things that are going to be need to see about the project that's going to be relevant to the task? Think about it from their perspective. And if you're unsure, you can literally just ask the CSM. And if you're unsure about what to include, a very, very easy fix to do to that is just ask one of your customer success managers to hop on a call with you and have an overview of the task manager systems and ask them different things they like and don't like. That Google document breakdown we did at the start doesn't just apply to you. Remember, you're not the only one that's going to be using this platform unless you're a one-person agency. And if you are a one-person agency, I would recommend going through trouble actually setting this up. But if you do have a team, ask them to kind of complete the document with you on the team. Ask them about different things they like. Ask them about different things they don't like. Because then you're going to be able to project management tool that's a lot more effective rather than something that just works for you, which is a bit selfish. So once again, I'll include some screenshots of individual pages and what that can actually look like. If you do want more detail about individual pages, check out the playlist below where I go over exactly how to do those in different builds. So at this point, we built our main pages, individual pages. The last thing we need to do is set up data permissions. Now, this is, in my opinion, is one of the reasons why Noloco stands out so much. Data permissions is one of the things that you need to have within a project management system, both if you're using it for clients and if you're using it for different team members. Now, what most softwares do when it comes to data permissions is just set up different filters. This is not really that effective because all you're doing is hiding information from them. You're not restricting them from access to the information. How Noloco works is one of the best features, in my opinion, is the fact that you can actually limit the permissions from a database level. So even if they found that page or searched for a specific record that wasn't assigned to them, they will not be able to find it. This is so important, guys. I recommend you spend the time to actually do this properly. So, for example, for your customer success managers, you can make it so they only see projects that they're actually assigned to. You can make it so they only see clients that they're actually looking after. From a client perspective, if you were to create a client portal, you can make it so that a client only see his project. You can make it so the client can only see their relevant tasks. You know, the possibilities are endless, but the key thing here is just restricting who sees what data and making sure that people only see the data that's actually relevant to them. Even if you're not using it as a client portal, I would recommend doing this because sometimes I come across a lot of agents who come to us asking for help and they're basically trying to figure out how to use this and they basically give their team access to everything, which isn't bad. You know, I'm not even talking about from a security standpoint, but it can lead to the team being confused. Like imagine you have different CSMs and they see different tasks are not assigned to them. There's no reason for them to do that. So with data permissions, you can make sure that they only see things that are relevant to them. And obviously from a security standpoint, it's also a bit better. Guys, once you've gone ahead and completed each one of those individual things, you've basically now completed stage 3, which is creating a rough version of what your project management tool can look like. Like I said at the start of the video, if you want more information or more examples of how to actually use this, you can check out these individual videos right here, which are, 1 hour plus, 1 hour, 2 hours even, and they go over exactly how you can create different systems and enhance them to a step further. But I will say, guys, don't overcomplicate this. In most cases, you will not need the most complicated setup. Just have a different table for your projects, have a different table for your tasks, and that is it. Over time, you're able to kind of enhance this from the feedback for your team and make it something that's greater. If you want, they also do have some templates that you can check out so you don't start from scratch. I'd recommend you do that. If you're more on the beginner side and don't really know how to use these no-code platforms, then you can check those out as well. However, I'm a big fan of just starting from scratch because I know exactly how I want to make something. Obviously, if you don't have that experience, then you don't have to do that. You can just use one of the templates. There's no shame in that. So now that we've gone over the different stages, from stage 1 to stage 3, I want to show you guys a key point that will actually allow you to actually integrate this within your system. And it's very simple. All I want you to do is import some real data. So a couple steps ago, we imported fake data, which was made up using ChatGPT or AI. This is great in the building stages because you want to get an idea of what your data or what your platform look like with data in. However, now the point that we have a platform, one of the best things you can do, guys, is put in some real data. And to actually explain to you why, I'm going to drive this in with a very, very quick story. For a long time, we were doing this and we were just leaving the example data and just kind of encouraging our client to firstly get used to it and then import their real data. But the problem is, guys, when the real data isn't there, and this applies to your different team members as well, they will not use it. And we came across this problem. We were finding it very, very hard to get our clients to actually start using applications that we actually build out for them. Very simply because there wasn't any data there. So they couldn't actually start using us properly. They could kind of play around with it and kind of visualize the data. However, in terms of practical use, they couldn't do anything with it because they didn't have their projects, they didn't have their clients, they didn't have a team on it, which didn't really make sense. So once you actually build your data, gain some sort of feedback, the best thing you can do to actually get your team to interact with this platform is add some real data in it. So for example, add in a list of all your active projects or your clients, add in a list of all the employees in the different user roles in the different departments, add in a list of all the active tasks that you're currently handling. I'm telling you guys that this will make your life so much easier and will increase the percentage of the employees who actually start using this project management tool significantly, because they don't have to do anything in themselves. They don't have to import different tasks. Everything's already there for them, and they just begin working and you can bring it, collecting feedback. So please guys, as soon as you finish building out your project, import some real data in for your team, because the chances are that actually use this project management tool that you spend a week or however long it took you building out is going to increase drastically. And guys, the last thing I want to talk about is stage 4. Now, at this point, we have a project manager tool that was fully made from scratch depending on your specific needs. And the only thing we need to do is improve it. And there's different ways to do that. So the first thing I recommend doing is setting up different trainings. Now, this can be in the form of a Google document, Google Drive. It can be a form of different Zoom calls going over how to use the platform. There's so many different ways you can do this. The simpler it is, the better, in my opinion. We like to create these written user guides for documents and include a chatbot within the application. Obviously, you don't have to go that far, especially if you have a small team. Just hop on Zoom and show them exactly how you intend them to use the application. The second thing I want you to do, which is very important, guys, this I probably won't be able to stress enough in this video, and I probably will go in a rant at some point of how important this is, but it's to collect feedback. You've built this now. However, you're not your customer success managers. You're not your media buyers. You're not your clients. You want to integrate within their life, but most importantly, you want to collect feedback on how to actually improve it. What I always say to my clients is, okay, we've gone ahead and finished project management tool. Here's version 1 of the product. I want you to use this and break it. Break it as much as possible and let me know everything that doesn't work so I can actually fix it. In most cases, there are going to be different things that don't work. There's going to be different things that don't work as they should. And there's going to be things that I don't really like about it. And you just want to collect that feedback and use it to actually improve your tool. This is not something that you set up once and then leave it forever. It's something that over time you can evolve and really make it your perfect project management tool, which once again is based on your specific needs. Guys, I can't stress the importance of this enough. You need to collect feedback from your different team members and all the different user roles that actually use an application, and you need to implement that feedback if you hear it across different factors. So for example, let's say you create a beautiful CSM view that has all the tools that you think they need. And then when they actually start using the app, in reality, there's a lot of things that are missing, or there's a lot of things that are not necessarily need to be there. You can take in that feedback, improve it, deliver to them, and then just keep on repeating the cycle of collecting feedback, implementing it, collecting feedback, implementing it. Because in the space of a month, 2 months down the line, you're going to have a really, really custom project management tool that actually fits the needs of every single person on your team. But if you don't collect this, then you're going to have a project management tools that people may not use, going to have problems with, and eventually it will just lead to chaos all over again, which you obviously do not want. And the last thing I'll say is to really integrate this project management tool within the rest of the agency, use automation. Now, like I said, before I found the loco, I went down the road of testing so many different project management tools. And one of the many reasons I actually ended up going with the loco is because how easily it integrates with automation. You can launch different webhooks from the loco. You can trigger different automations. It's honestly so seamless. And I really recommend you spend some time trying to integrate different automations that you may have or you don't already have within your agency. And if you want some inspiration on what automations to actually include, you can check out this video right here, which basically goes over 5 automations that every single agency needs at scale. Once you've done that, then your team will actually begin using automations within the project management tools, which is going to streamline everything so far and improve their efficiency, because what you're basically doing is giving them every single one of the tools that they actually need to actually deliver on their role efficiently. And guys, that's pretty much it. I've now gone over how you can create a project management system from scratch. Now, if you want more information on how to do this, there's 2 different things you can do. First thing you do is check out the first link in the description and join our Scale Proof Agency Hub, a free community where you have direct access to myself and my team, a community of over 200 established agency owners looking to set up scale-proof systems, and every single one of the resources from our YouTube videos, which includes different things such as templates, mind maps, database examples that you can just import straight away. It will just make your life a lot easier and allow you to build this using our pre-built templates. The second thing you can do is once you join our community, book your free audit call with myself, and I'll basically go over a plan on how to create a project management system from scratch. Depending on when you're watching this, we might still be offering them completely for free. So in a 7-day challenge, where basically within the 7 days, you create a project management system for your agency. I can't promise we have any spaces left, but if that sounded interesting, you can join the community using the first link in the description and send us a message, and we can kind of go from there. Apart from that, guys, I hope this video has been valuable. I genuinely think that creating a custom project management system for your agency is one of the most high leverage tasks you can actually create. And fun fact, I actually tested this over the weekend, or about in the start of November for about a week, I tried running my agency without any project management system. So any single task, I do it on notes, I use Google Docs. And for the first days, it was okay. But later down the line, when I had to reference some of the work that I was doing previously, or I had to kind of start and stop on tasks, it became such a mess tracking everything. And for my team as well, I was as involved within our project management system. So they started missing information out. Guys, I can promise you, if you have a project management system which is fully built around your needs and solves the issues that every single one of your team members actually have with your current setup, you're going to improve the efficiency of your team and you'll see your client results improve. But the only way you can do that is creating something that actually works. And then once again, guys, if you have managed to make something work off something like of a standard project management tool or something you got off the shelf like ClickUp, Monday, all those different platforms, then congratulations. I wouldn't recommend changing everything just because of this video, but a lot of agency owners I know are struggling in that field of having a tool that kind of fits all of their needs, which is why I thought I'd create this video. I hope this was valuable, guys. Make sure to leave any questions in the comments. We're a very small channel, so if you leave a question, we're 100% going to see it and give you an in-depth response. Make sure to join the community. In there, you get direct access to myself, my different team members, and once again, over 200 established agency owners who are all looking to set up scale-free systems. So if any of that sounded interesting, you can join. Use the first link in the description. It's 100% free. And apart from that, guys, it's been a pleasure actually recording this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and please check out the playlist in the description where I'll also include the longer videos, which are 1 hour, 2 hours, 1 hour, 17 minutes. And that goes over how to build some of these tools completely from scratch, from start to finish. So if you're stuck on anything, check out those videos as well. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you next one. Bye bye.